I always start off with a little story myself. And again, I never know what I'm going to say on purpose because I want it to be as authentic as possible. The one thing that I did want to share is if you've been following me or if you've been hearing about my journey, I did something really huge about 2 weeks ago. I held my first in-person Worthy Rally for Hope and Kindness in Houston, Texas. And some people here have attended, which I still can't believe I did that. It's pretty crazy, but it's been a dream of mine forever. And it's just an example that dreams can come true. And it literally, again, if you don't know my story, it was a dream. It came to me in a dream. It happened. One thing that reminds me of that day, and if you know when you get those days that just really you're like, oh my God, this was such a good day. I wish I could have more of these, or I wish I could just remember this day and how I'm feeling and how everyone's feeling around me when I really need it. I don't want that feeling to go away. Well, that's what we did at the event. We had these bottles, and the event started by taking away the cork. And through the whole event, all the positive stories, all the energy, all the warmth was captured in this bottle. And so we bottled it up at the very end of the event. So guess what? I don't dare open that up because I want to keep that all in there. So I want to rub it all around my head and my eyes and my ears when I start feeling like I'm seeing things in a negative way, or I'm hearing things that maybe are self-critical. So because this is good stuff in there, but this is just symbolism, right? We don't need an object to remind us. We don't need something else to be dependent on to remind us that we can change our mindset at any time. At any time. We have that bottled up goodness inside of us, but we often have all this negativity, all this judgment, and often coming from us that gets in the way of really seeing that we have that bottled up magic, that fairy dust, or whatever you want to call it, that's in us. If anything, I want this to serve as a reminder that you yourself have the power to change things and how you see things around you. When life offers you challenges, I say offers, not in I choose words in a specific way, because challenges are ways to either teach us something or enable us to grow, or later on we realize that challenges are what we're meant to go through in order to show others that it is possible to persevere. So when you find yourself that way, just remember the fairy dust, the magic, the secret potion, the bottled up goodness of all of those days that you've had before that you wish would never go away because it was the best day of your life. Remember that and bring that to the forefront, because you can do that at any time. You have the power yourself to do that at any time. So I just wanted to give that reminder to everyone. And that just came to me by looking at this bottle today. So remember, one dream, you have that dream, especially if you have that dream that keeps nudging at you, and you're like, that's impossible. Who thinks, how can I possibly go forward in doing that? Who would possibly attend my event? Who would possibly read my book? Who would possibly even enjoy my idea? Go for it, especially if it nudges you. That's the sign that you are meant to share that. And you may not know how or when or who will buy into it, but it's meant to happen. So never ignore those signs. Okay, well, with that said, I would like to bring up our first storyteller, Miss Sushma. And again, these storytellers I have not really met at all, except Michelle. I work with Michelle, and Michelle is, she came on at the very last minute. Thank you, Michelle, because I found out she did such a wonderful thing that just needs to be shared. But the rest of the storytellers I have not met at all. And I want to do something different today. And I want them to introduce themselves as, very briefly, what they do and what their passion projects are, but mostly who they are, who is the person behind Sushma, Leslie, Angel, Rolandas, etc. So with that said, Sushma, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Andrea. So before saying anything at all, so first of all, I would like to really thank you for allowing me this platform, because this is for the first time ever in my entire lifetime where I am in this kind of setting where I'm sharing my life with so many people on a global platform. So I would say it's a privilege, it's an honor, and it's a real respect for the kind of life I have led through and the work I have done, and all the things I have overcome in my personal experience. So thank you so much for that. I am more than glad to join you all here. I would give a little brief about myself as to introduce myself, not going into education or work, but broadly, I am a coach. I have been a career coach for a couple of years, and I'm very proud to say that, because it's not just a profession for me. All these years, I have been doing really deep work with my clients, and the real fulfillment which I get out of their stories, and when I see them transformed and getting breakthroughs in their own life, that's what allows me to continue do, as Andrea shared, to do what I'm doing, and it gives me that meaning, a purpose for my life to continue that journey. So in very brief, that's who I am at present. There is a long way to go from here in future, but that's what it is at the moment. Coming to my story, it it starts from the very beginning, from the very moment when I was born, or probably even before I was born. And it very deeply and very concentrated form, it revolves mainly around my childhood years. So to begin with, I was an unwanted child. And as many of you might know, the part of the world where I was born, which is India, and that too north of India, this is something which is not very uncommon. And the factor behind that was I was a girl, so that gender is not very appreciated, because it's a male dominated society and it's a male dominated world, and so is the rest of the world, but then in that part it's at the extreme. So I was not welcomed in the world as a life when I came to this world, and that was the beginning, to say the least. uh, Initial years of my life, they were not very flowery or rosy, the way they should be for any child. It was rough and harsh childhood, and as I was growing up and I started facing more and more realities and truths of life, I started seeing it. It just began when I entered the school. It was not the best school which was given to me, because seemingly I was not supposed to bring a lot of value back. So to begin with, it was a compromise. Uh, After a couple of years, it was probably around 6 or 7 years of age when I faced first instance of abuse, where I faced physical sexual abuse, which was uh, through a person who was very well familiar to me. Uh, but life was going on, and after a couple of years, uh, those abusive instances, they became a frequent part of my life. It was probably around age of 11 or 12 when I had experienced incest, which was sexual abuse through a family member. I was too young to make sense of any of those things, and probably quite helpless to uh, do something about it or even voice it out. So as all this was happening, I was stuffing it down within me because I could not find anyone safe enough or close enough where I could go to that person and open myself up. It did not end there. By same person, after couple of years, one more time the same event happened, and probably that brought to that brought me to the last ounce of my patience, and it was another incident of repeating the same after some more time, after another 2 years or so. By the time I must be around age of 16 or so, that I could not hold it within me. And it was inside the family, it was inside the house. And then I was faced with this dilemma that either have to speak up, I have to bring it out in the open, else I will not have my life continue for very long. I might die out of uh, the trauma or some other way, but I could see the threat to my life facing me in a very stark way, face to face in front of me. And that was the time when, for the first time, I could muster the courage to confront that person and actually face to face stand in front of the person. I could not say much, but I could manage to say one or two lines. And I asked that, why did you do whatever you did to me? In that moment, I could see the face of that person, that the shifting of that fear from my body and from my heart and mind to that person. And that gave me little bit more courage and little bit more ability to speak. And in that same moment, I shared that with another members within the house. Nothing was done about it and nothing was said much. Rather, there were few things said to me which sort of indicated that somewhere I shared the responsibility of what was being done, which was hurtful. It broke trust, but at the same time, I could ensure that I am safe. Uh, and from that moment onwards, it stopped. So being that child in that same house and being dependent on those same people for my life, for my shelter, food, survival, education, and safety and everything, this is all I could do, that to ensure that my life would go on and it stops and I am safe. Tangibly, it ended there. But of course, in my mind, in my body, in my life, it did not end. It hadn't even started. when all this was happening, there was this one thing which was my biggest anchor to life, and which continued to give me a reason to live and do everything else, was uh, my academic pursuits. Fortunately, I was somebody who always had been a bright student, and I was doing very well, and I was celebrated very, very much among my friends and teachers and everyone. So that world and this world, there was a very strong wall between the two. So that world outside kept me going, and I could never mix the two because of the fear that this safe, non-judgmental space I have, I would lose that. Life continued. I completed my school. I took some entrance exams, and I got into graduate college, and that was the age of 18. And for the first time, that was the moment when I got out of that so-called home. And it was a big moment of freedom, not psychologically, but in terms of my environment, my vicinity, and my surroundings. I could feel that I have broken free, and whatever life happens from here, it would be only better. But as I did not understand this kind of trauma back then, and I could not anticipate what all is going to come in future in terms of my performance in academics and work in life and relationships and how I deal with life situations. I did not know intellectually or theoretically, I did not have information. So basically, I was not trauma informed, and I did not take any support from anyone because I never knew, or I never thought of that being a possibility, because in my mind and in my world, it was over in a way. But it was there in my body still, and I did not know that. And then it started showing up in my college. It was 4 years graduation, and that entire duration, pretty much first 3 years, I was living in depression. It affected my academics, my performance, but I was somehow managing, and I was getting through everything, but I was just getting through. Uh, there was a friend, a very, very close and very special friend I had around the end of my third year. She spoke to me about a place called Landmark Forum. And I am guessing many of you must be knowing about that, because a very well-known global body. And she was discussing some of her experiences, and as she told me about that, I decided to go there and participate in the program. It is just a 3 days program I had attended, and that was another breakthrough moment, which today I can look back and say that it changed, or it started to change my life, because in those 3 days windows, whatever happened there, that gave me enough conviction, courage, and everything else to confront my abuser. And in those 3 days, I did that, and I could express everything I had stuffed down within me, my pain, my anger, my hurt, uh, all kind of emotions as they came out, and as I could bring them in the light. It was very difficult. It was not something which I did easily, but somehow, yes, I managed to do that. And after those 3 days, I felt I was a totally different person. it is not that I was completely transformed or all impact of trauma was taken off my mind and body, but still I was very different and I was no more the same person because somehow psychologically I had taken it off. But it did not end there as well. I still had to hit the rock bottom of my life, which I did not know was waiting for me. Almost another 1 year down the line, I ended up having a toxic and abusive relationship with somebody, which back then, of course, I did not know is it was a aftermath of my past and childhood experiences. That continued for pretty much 3 years. And that was something which actually brought me to the rock bottom of my life. And that was another spot where I managed to know that my past is not over. It's living my life. I am not living my life. And with that phase, it was for the first time when I started doing my inner work. I started doing self work, and I started taking help from external sources and professionals. And parallelly, at the same time, I was also pursuing my master's in almost 3 to 4 years of deep work. It was it was then for the first time when I knew that now I am beginning to transform and I am actually completely new person and I will never be the same. That that whole experience of doing that work, it changed me so much that I entered my spiritual awakening. I woke up because of that work, and my entire past life was disrupted, all the family, friends and everything. It was just falling apart. And I had a very successful career otherwise in parallel, because I was doing pretty good in terms of academics and professional life. So I was into a corporate career. All those things, they started falling apart, and I could let go of almost anything and everything, and I was left with nothing. But still inside me, I had so much that for the first time I could develop that true authentic self-love and sense of self-care, self-appreciation, power, authentic power, and all those things, they started coming to me uh, from the entire universe. And it was a ecstatic feeling. And it took some more time for me to actually ground myself into that process, and then things started opening up, and then I really found my calling and purpose. And then eventually I got into coaching industry. I started my coaching practice as a career coach, and I started finding my soul tribe. I connected to a lot of great people, and some of those, they brought me here in front of all of you. And that's the process which brings me here. And today I am able to say this here in front of all of you without crying, without shaking, or without any of those feelings, because there has been years and years of work which has gone into it. And even at the moment here, there are lots of people who are present with me and they're supporting me. And that support, I have to admit and I have to say that how fortunate I am to live in this era where this kind of setting of uh, this global community and global family is possible. Because I know today that I am here because of all the support I have received from some of you here and many other people, which I could not receive, I could not get despite a lot of effort from my vicinity, from my home, family, relations, friends, workplace, or anywhere. And I would say I'm just so grateful for that, and nothing could replace that. So that's my story in quite brief. I guess I did not take too much time. And thank you once again, all of you. Thanks, Andrea.
Sushma, what you just did, you told your story for the first time. That took tremendous courage. Not
Yes.
only that, but your vulnerability, your authenticity, just your whole soul of persevering through those times. You're an inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I want to reiterate that you are safe. You are safe here. You are safe now. And more people need to hear your story. You have
Yes.
such amazing comments. So many people really were touched. I want to open up the floor to anyone that wants to say anything to Sushma. Leslie Flowers.
Hey, Sushma. Good for you for realizing that that first transformational step with Landmark was not the end. You know, many people start there and end there. And the fact that you did not let that be enough for you, because it's simply a start, like it kickstarted your transformation. And it's really the most important thing I got from your story is that that wasn't enough for you, right? So brava.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Anyone else? Zach?
Words don't even come to my mind, to be honest with you. Saturday morning, you're quite an inspiration. I need this Monday morning, but I will save what you did today and rewatch it if it's recorded. But I can't thank you enough. I picked up something today that I never realized that people go through when they have traumatic events, is that there isn't a fix. When you said that you stared at that person, this I don't know what you would call them. I had some pretty bad names going through my head, but that you felt a little bit of change in, and movement and charge, but then you were right back to dealing with it so much. So you really showed me today that, for anyone that I am supporting with traumatic events, or even if I ever go through some myself, there isn't just a one fix. It's a constant journey. And you're amazing. Thank you so much for your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. That matters a lot.
Thank you, Zach. Powerful words. Anyone else? Ooh, what a start. Strong start. Thank you so much, Sushma. You're amazing. Please take the time to look at the comments. I'm so honored, so grateful that you chose this platform today in front of all of us to share your story.
And I cannot thank you enough for bringing me here.
Thank you, Sushma. Next, we have my friend Michelle. We work together, but she just did something incredibly amazing the past week, which I thought this needs to be shared amongst many more people. You're very humble, but she's an amazing human being besides being great at what she does at work. Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself a bit and then share your story?
Sure. Thank you, Andrea. Oh, this is tough to follow. My heart's still just beating out of my chest for you, Sushma. So give me a second. As Andrea said, we've actually worked together think you started a little like 2.5 years now. So, and I don't think anyone else here does, but I want you all to know that Andrea is just this caring and compassionate and amazing at work as she is in person. So you are getting authentic Andrea, and I know I am also, which is, she's amazing. I love working with her. I feel like we don't get to work together enough, but she'll probably disagree when I keep bugging her about communications. So I work in talent management in the HR space, but I'm a lot more than that, even though sometimes it feels like I'm not. And I'm sure everybody else can agree that you just work all the time, right? So when somebody, and I know that it's kind of a criticism of Americans, which is unfair, but I think worldwide these days it's, well, what do you do? It's like the first question. Well, okay, I spend all my time at work. That's what I can talk about. But what else that Andrea is saying is the reason she brought me here. A few years ago, randomly, very randomly, a cousin of mine works in the medical field, and she just happened to post on Facebook, and I happened to see it about her joining the Be the Match bone marrow donation registry. I had never heard of it. I was like, okay, cool. It's, you order a cheek swab and you swab your cheek, get in the mail, you mail it back. Small fact about me, I have pretty moderate to severe ADHD. So the fact that my swab even made it back into the mail is a huge mountain that we climbed. So that's the first hurdle. And about a month ago, maybe 5 or 6 weeks, I got a phone call. I was actually at work. And I was a bone marrow donor match for a pediatric leukemia cancer patient. And the most that I know about him is a 14-year-old boy with acute myeloid leukemia. That's all I got. I said, are you willing? And I was like, of course. I'm like, at work, we have these little small, we all work kind of in a free range area. And I was like in a conference room, just like crying all my makeup off, which was kind of funny looking back. I hadn't even done anything. All I said was like, yes, of course. So 2 weeks ago, so on the 17th, I flew to Nashville. They put me under anesthesia and they went into the back of my hip bones with little hollow needles. Just so you know, you don't need a drill. They just push on in there, and they took about a quart of my bone marrow and immediately, pretty sure, we don't know too much, brought it to the pediatric cancer patient. And as far as I know, that transplant went quick, fast, and hurry. And hopefully in a year, I'll get to maybe meet him if he hopefully survives, which the transplant rates are really good. And yeah, so I anonymously donated my bone marrow. And that feels really cool. So I know it's a whole lot different than the first story that just got told, but I don't know how many people are here in Houston, but we've got Highway 45 and where I-10 cross. There used to be that big overpass. And for years it said, be someone. And I always thought, like, who? I can't be anybody. Like, I'm not special. And you can ask Andrea, I tell people this all the time. Like, there's nothing inherently special about me. I'm not going to be the CEO, I'm not an athlete, I'm not an actress. I'm not somebody. I'm no one. And I mean that in the least self-deprecating way. Like, I'm pretty confident in myself. I'm good at my job. I have friends. Most people like me. Not everyone's going to. And for the longest time, I just didn't know, like, who am I going to be? I'm going to leave this world being nobody. And is that okay? And then I realized very recently, I don't have to be anybody. I just have to be a match. And I just have to say yes. And that's what I did. And it was a little painful, I won't lie. There's a second method that they do where you're like awake the whole time and it's like donating blood. Thank goodness I got the worst one because my veins are really tiny. So I don't even know how well that would have worked. So it's probably good they just knocked me out and went straight for the source. But I hope this also passes on that, like, there are still good people in the world that'll just lay down and say, yep, take my bone marrow. Child I've never met. But that doesn't mean that I'm like better or great. I still have a lot of faults, things to work on, but it's pretty cool. It's a really cool feeling. Oh my God, this is like the first time I've actually like cried about this, other than when they were going to put me under, because that's a little nerve-wracking, but it was really neat. And I know that not everyone gets the chance to like do something so cool that like it feels really nice for everybody to congratulate me and say you're so great. But I feel just awesome getting even that chance to make such a difference. So just keep an eye out. There's a lot of, I had no idea that registry existed. And there's a lot of really, really cool ways to like be somebody, if you will.
Michelle, you are more than just somebody. You are a superhero, especially to that one little boy.
So sweet. I just couldn't imagine, like, I don't have children, but like, I'm a child. I couldn't imagine that my mom hears that I have cancer and nobody in our family's a match. You have to cross your fingers that like some stranger is a match number one and says yes, number two. My parents are super proud, which is also like every kid wants that to happen. So
You should be so, so proud. I have chills just by you telling it again. And you need to look at all these comments as well. Incredible, just incredible, Michelle.
thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I wanted to make one more point. I even had the link
Please.
pulled up.
Please.
So what I didn't know, and because of course I kind of didn't really know about the registry and then I forgot until they call you. If you're white, I am, you have about an 80% chance of finding a match if you have to go to the registry. Those are pretty good odds, I would say. If you're Black, that plummets to 30%. Those are not good odds. The registry is woefully in need of being expanded, of being diversified. If you're Asia Pacific Islander, Hispanic, Latino, Native American, your rates are also much lower. Higher than 30, but not by much. So we're actually, at work, we have employee resource groups. So affinity groups, we have the Black NG Employee Network, we've got Asia Pacific Islander, Latino, and we're all planning to hopefully get together and do an in-person drive for, you know, if you're between the ages of 18 and 40, it is a commitment. This was not zero risk to me. I completely understand when people aren't ready to do that, but just spreading the word and knowing about the bone marrow registry, number one, great. But number two, knowing that it needs to be diversified. And the only way to do that is to find more people of color, more people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds to take that step and to even just take the first step of saying, I might want to do this, because you're under no obligation. I could have said no. Like up until they were putting the go to sleep stuff in my IV, I could have been like, nope, I would not have done that. That would have caused the child to lose his life. But yeah, that's something else that I wanted to bring up. And I'll put I can drop the link in the chat. Is in this instance, I think like knowledge is power. My contribution was life-saving, yes, but it's a one-to-one. So like that was one person, and I'm so glad I got a chance to save his life. That's great for him and his family. But there's so many people that aren't going to have that match because they don't have enough people in the registry. So how many more lives can we save just by telling people, if you're outside the age range, if you just can't, don't want to, doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you're done. Just keep talking about it. You'll inspire somebody like me who just said, yeah, I'm a healthy 20 something, I guess I'll swab. Next thing you know, 6 years later, I'm on an operating table. It can happen that fast. That's all we need to do. Just keep talking about it. Not really done.
Wow, Michelle, thank you so much. That I did not know those odds and those stats. Thank you so much. That's really eye-opening.
You click that link, there's a very nice infographic that just tells it to you there.
Wow. I want to open up the floor. Anyone that has a comment or anything for Michelle. Hi, Bill. So good to see you.
I am very happy I just joined this call. I was actually at a fundraiser 5K this morning, and I told my son on the way home, well, I need to jump on this call as soon as we get home. And Sushma, I missed your story. I got on about 10 minutes ago. Michelle, I'm going to keep this short, but I need to have a separate conversation with you. And I'll get emotional, so I'm going to keep it short. My son is a transplant survivor. And it matters. So you are someone we are grateful every day for the last 18 years. There's a lot more to that story, but I'm going to keep it right there and let's let the show go on. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. That was I don't know why I thought I should put on makeup today. This was another terrible idea, but I was not expecting to hear that. Thank you.
None of us were. You just never know. I mean, people are meant to show up for a reason, and the knowing that you both showed up today and you showed up just in time to hear Michelle's story, Bill, that is, I can't explain that. So, APEC.
I want to say it's so so amazing seeing two of you being in the same call, Bill and Michelle, and I'm so glad that this is recording. You are recording this, Andrea, because I think there is a campaign is in order for this, and I cannot imagine anybody seeing Michelle telling her story and seeing Bill as a receiver's parent than better convincing proof that everybody needs to do this. And so I thank you, Michelle, on behalf of humanity for what you did. And I think we need to start a campaign, and we need to invite everybody to do this, because you know the story of the seashells, sea stars,
Starfish?
Starfish.
yes, the starfish. Like one person throws them in the water, and the guy says, "Why are you doing it? There are so many. You can only throw a few." And he said, like, I'm throwing them because it matters for that one that I throw. It just, even if it's one, I saved its life. So thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say also that I've just been really, really lucky in life. I have an amazing family, an amazing husband. I love my job. Like, to me, it's just, I don't even feel like this is like courage or bravery or any of these things we're kind of espousing right now. Like, this is like the least I could do to pour back into the world. And it just so happens it was kind of a big deal. Really happy about that. But like, there are people out there who have enough and have more than enough. And my cup is really, really full. And I'm so happy to just always be able to try to throw the starfish back or pour into other people. So there's more people, I promise. I know that I'm not the only one.
And if I may, just one more thing. We all come to this world with a purpose. And sometimes this is the main thing. That all matters. You are alive and you could do this. And what a better purpose to life than this. Saving someone's life.
That's right, APEC. Very well said. David.
Wow. Just wow. Another great rally. Really great speakers. As the show is, as always, is powerful energy. Just just really great. Just wanted to just really come on quickly to say, look, really appreciate your bravery. It's all about the power of one. You put yourself out there and you decided that you want to do this, and it only just takes that one person to just set the butterfly effect, and things change, and it just needs that power and that energy and that ripple of kindness, and it starts, like I said, with the one person. And I just want to say I'm proud of you. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate what you did, and thank you for giving. That's true kindness. Just wanted to just say that.
Thank you, David. Always so great to see you. Anyone else? Oh my goodness, that was amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much, and just the whole community too. This just truly makes the whole experience. So I want to introduce our next storyteller. And the reason I've been saying Leslie Flowers is because this person also is Leslie Angel Foster Green, but she goes by Angel, which very fitting for this rally. So Angel, please let us know who are you and share your story.
Yes, this is so powerful. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are, everyone. I am Angel Green, and I am a loving mother and wife. And I want to thank you, Andrea, for all your time and effort and for putting this together. I'm here to help the world in any way that I can. I'm hoping to help others by bringing kindness, joy, and a sense of freeness. My work that I do is in business development and health and fitness. I enjoy making a positive difference in others' lives. I felt it was important for me to be here, sharing from my heart. I'm sorry, I'm still touched from the other stories. It was important for me to be here because if I could help at least one person experience more joy and feel loved, I'll come that closer to my mission in life of spreading kindness and helping to make this a better place to be. How I came about being here is one day I saw a message pop on LinkedIn. It was from Andre and it said 15 minutes of kindness. I never met her before. I never saw her before, but kindness touched my heart. In 15 minutes, I'll take a minute of it. And I got on and I listened to just a few seconds and whoever would share. And it just made a difference. And I look forward to it because it's actually something that's my passion. I've witnessed lately, there seems to be so many people in pain and so many people closing the door to love because somebody has been mean or hurt them in another way. I was one of those people who wanted to just close the door of interacting with people. I felt drained by extending love, and in return, someone take my kindness for weakness. But I learned that closing the door wasn't the answer to make me feel good. I'm nice to people, but sometimes it backfires. I still remain nice to people, and I realize some are attracted to something about me, but not all come for the sake of good. So I had to learn to have boundaries, but not allow my heart to be hardened. I feel sharing kindness is a great way to help heal the world. So I'm gonna share one of my stories with you. I started on a gratitude journey. And in this journey, I realized to focus on forgiving. I searched deep to identify where I held hate in my heart. I had a family member that was very hateful to me, even when I was a child, and through the rest of my life. As an adult, to me, she was non-existent. I vowed from her meanness that I would never speak to her again and that I hated her. Well, on my gratitude journey, I realized hate was a negative feeling that I didn't want to have a hold of me. Getting rid of hate in my heart would make a difference in saving my soul. I soul searched and I identified I had to do something. I had to forgive so that I could move on in a positive, loving way. It just so happened we wound up after years, 30 plus years, in the same location. While I'm on my gratitude journey, realizing I have to forgive. What's the chance of that? She needed assistance to move about. She was now much older and frail. I helped her. Perfect timing for me to make my move to save my soul. That's what I felt. After that day, I reached out to her and I spoke with her on the phone, a very difficult call. I told her I forgive her. It wasn't an easy conversation. I didn't go into what she did because I realized I had to stay focused on my goal of saving my soul and forgiveness. I made myself available to her at her wonderful age of 86. She was very thankful, and my soul felt good knowing my heart held no hatred, and I would never allow anyone to get me to that point again. I learned while soul searching, I had to forgive myself. Forgiving is a true feeling. It takes more out of you to hold on to hate. I learned this. I'm not saying it's easy, however, it's totally worth it. I still check on her out of kindness. I work hard to never allow anyone to take me down the negative road. I keep in the front of my mind, heart, and soul that I forgive, love, and treat others with kindness to save my soul and hopefully someone else's. And that feels so good. For me, I believe we can make the world a better place by saying hi to strangers with a smile. So many people come across others in my work of being a health and fitness person. I'd work in a gym and so many people would just come in and treat me like I'm a basketball. Like I was some emotional, non-existent, just there to do what they wanted, and that was it. But I would stop and say, hi, how are you today? Someone would just look, no response, and I'd say it again, hey, how are you today? And I still do this, and I go to the store, hi. Sometimes the people in the register are so used to people being cold to them that they just look and don't respond. But I say it again, hi, how are you? And eventually they respond back with kindness and a smile. I think that being kind and showing love is an act that is contagious and can make so many feel warmth and kindness and free. And as for me, I will continue to offer love and positive vibes. Do I still come across people that try to take advantage of my kindness? I do. But what I've learned is to set boundaries. So I wanted to shut myself down, but instead I've learned, listen and look at the signs, because everyone in the world is not bad. And sometimes those that are treating you bad, it has nothing to do with you. It's something about themselves and they're putting it on you. So sometimes I just stop and sing that song in my head, let it go. And I smile to myself and they feel the positive energy come out of me. And that's my one of many stories. And I hope my share has touched at least one heart, made someone feel a sense of, aha, because I just feel this is what the world needs. Thank you.
Angel, that was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. I love how you're all about kindness and also the examples that you share. One that I could relate to is when you say hi repeatedly to people and there's no answer, but you just keep saying it. You know, before the self-critical of us would say, oh my God, that was embarrassing. I just spoke and they didn't say anything. What's wrong with me? And you know, you're talking in your head. But when you realize that it's not about you, they may be going through something that you may never, ever realize. That's when you're the one that needs to like model the behavior. So I love that a lot. Great reminder.
Thank you.
Questions. Let's see. I don't know who raised their hand first. It was David. Okay, David. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. A couple of things really came up for myself in this conversation. You know, I'm a big believer in gratitude. Really, I'm such a big believer in gratitude. You know, again, what came off myself was around forgiveness. You know, you're
Yes.
right. It's the empathy piece. You know, you don't, you know, you allow. I mean, I've been through this. I am at some point when I can get the nerve, gonna come and do my story. But it is about the forgiveness piece, and I applaud you for, you know, finding the power of kindness to forgive. And I totally agree around, you know, the power of smiles. You know, even those, you know, smiles are a thing. You know, it is the power of genuine kindness. I mean, I don't know if you just not to plug in. Those a great guy. I don't know if you've heard of Michael Ray, who kind of talks about that as well. The power of smiles and the Smile Project. You know, I really, yeah. I mean, I'm just blown away again. I mean, you know, the power that you've shown to truly forgive and let go of the hate. You know, I'm just again, I'm just proud. Well, I've only just met you, but I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Zach?
For your story. You truly, without a doubt, I love that. I love your name. I'm a caregiver advocate, and what that really means is that I dedicate to really advocate for those who caregive for others, especially elderly. And your story was very powerful. I will tell you, you know, you said you hope that it really touched somebody. Well, certainly not only did it just touch me, but you gave me some fuel. I am a part of a lot of caregiver support groups. I encourage you to join because you could give some tremendous amount of advice and encouragement, because this is extremely common that you have a caregiver who will care for a parent who has been extremely mean to them all their life, or a relative. And yet they find the courage, the forgiveness, the love, the kindness just to go out there and care for someone. So you would be awesome in these caregiver support groups. I certainly will share your story. So just know that I'll be sharing your story with your permission, with many others. And one thing I wanted to just highlight, I love what you said. You know, you got on the phone with the 86-year-old family member that's been a pretty bad person, and you focused on I and not them. And that was extremely powerful, because there's no way you're going to change them, not at 86, much less 21 or 35. But the fact you can change you is the most powerful thing I've heard from you today. And that was awesome, Angel. Thank you. God bless you so
Thank
much.
you. But I would like to know about your support group. I would love to be a part and help others. That's what I enjoy doing.
My LinkedIn information on the chat room, so that we can link up and we'll talk.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's so beautiful. I love it when people connect with each other. And not only have you made an impact to what we all agreed upon, let's make an impact on one person, but you made an impact to many, as with all the speakers so far. So you have exceeded expectations.
Thank you very much.
Questions? Bill.
Angel, we have a similar perspective. A lot of people, as Andrea knows, I'm a big fan of social media, and there's a lot of noise out there that people go, oh, it's mean people, it's this, it's that. I never see any of that.
Yes.
All I see is good. And if something's negative, I move on. As you've said, and Andrea said, it's not you. That person may be going through something. Now, I wasn't there 40 years ago, okay, but I'm really happy to be there right now, okay?
It's great, isn't it?
It's, you just do you, be genuine in your intent, and keep going. And it just simply comes back. It really does. I mean, I've known Andrea for 6 years, I think, and you know, we met on Twitter, and now I'm part of this fabulous community. And you talk about the 15 minutes. It's great to see something come out of that. Every moment can matter. You know, I have a theme that my brother and I share about, what do you guys do? I work with my twin, and plain and simple, it's changing the world one interaction, one person at a time. So it is the starfish idea. And you don't have to know who you're impacting. Just know you are. So thank you.
Thank you.
That is so true, Bill. So true. Never met Bill in person, but we've known each other for a couple of years because of social media, and that it is a really good resource and tool to meet amazing people. What Angel was referring to about 15 minutes of kindness, again, an idea I just had, just put it out there. I just started on LinkedIn 15 minutes of kindness when I go on at 7:30 in the morning. For 15 minutes, whoever wants to pop on and give a shout out to anyone, a person, an initiative, whoever they'd like to that's giving them an extra smile that day. And I never really promoted it. I have a thing about promoting me. I like to promote others. So I just, leave it to the universe, see who comes on. And Angel happened to come on. If I hadn't moved forward with that little nudge that kept at me of trying something new, I would have never met Angel. Angel would have never been here, and you would have never connected with Zach and touched all these people. So that is another example yet. When you have an idea, you just never know where it's going to lead. It may not even be about you. It's about the people that you can connect with your ideas. So I'm so grateful that I did that because I can see the fruits of it today. Oh my goodness.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
I am just so thankful also for LinkedIn and your 15 minutes of kindness, because I had no idea telling that story would make a difference to anyone, but I knew that it was a major thing, and just sharing forgiveness and love, and pouring into yourself what you want to pour into others, or have others pour into you. So thank you again.
Thank you, Angel. Any other words for Angel? Marshall? Great to see you.
Good to see y'all. Thanks for allowing me to be here too. Thanks, Andrea. Yeah, I just could definitely relate to, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. About what Angel was saying, and then what Michelle shared, and what Sushma shared, and having that perseverance, and thinking about each one of those, who shared. It's like Epec said at your event a couple of weeks ago about, that's like being light inside of us, right? And what hit me in that moment when I think Zach was speaking and about the impact, and the same thing with I think it's Bill. You think about if the sun refused to shine every day, how would people feel, right? Like, we don't know, like, and that's like when we have that inside of us, it's like we owe that to the world to share those experiences, because it affected us in one way, and we interpret it and we deal with it and process it and digest it in our own particular way. But somebody else either is going to go through something like that, or somebody who has gone through something even worse, who can probably share their experience with you to help you grow through it. And that was just something, and it spoke to me, like it jumped out like immediately, and in a relation to like the light inside of us that we have, and those experiences are like light. And when you think about the studies that are done in different places of the world, that says where are the happiest places on earth, and it typically has like the best weather, and it's like always like Hawaii, because some parts of the earth get more sunshine and more days of sunlight or whatever, and those people are typically like happier. And Epec said it, I mean, she couldn't put it even better, like a couple of weeks ago, about just that being a light within us, and just light shines onto truth, and truth, and and that begets grace and everything else. And Andrea, when you started this a couple of years ago, it was it came right on time. And it was such a timely event that everything around us that was happening in the world was definitely in need of something that we can all relate to, and that's kindness. And I just thank you for that too.
Thank you, Marshall. I just had a huge aha moment with you. What would happen if the sun refused to shine today? That is just so powerful. What would happen if the sun refused to shine? What's going to happen if you refuse to show up today? Let's take that with you. Ooh, this has been, golly, this has been amazing. Oh my goodness. I do have a confession. So since I did my in-person event in October and I do these once a month, I was like, oh, I did my in-person. I'm off the hook for October. So I don't have to do an online one this month. And I was feeling, lazy, exhausted. But then someone a few days ago was like, I can't wait to I think it was Melody. I can't wait to see you on Saturday. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So we came, I got amazing speakers. And, when you have started something, when you know in your heart that there's something that you need to do out there, you have a commitment. You have a commitment to show up. And I am so glad we all showed up today because the stories today have been just, I don't even know how to describe it. And just the interactions, it's just meant to be. So thank you for all of you for reminding me to show up, my sun, my light to show up, because we're all human. Melody.
The fact that you even just alone, Michelle, with that awareness of that registry means that today's rally is going to save lives. Just that alone, never mind all the incredible other stories that have already been told and that are still being told on this. So thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you, Melody. Oh my gosh, all of you. Ooh, so let's move to another amazing human, Miss Leslie Flowers. Leslie, I cannot wait to hear your story. Please share with us who you are.
This has been amazing. Thank you for inviting me. And let's see. I'm in the last part of my life, and I have been very gifted and very much like Michelle throughout my whole life. And she had to leave, but that idea that she got and acted on, I've always been that way. I was in theater, majored in drama, was sang, danced, flew troops into Vietnam in the 60s, lived in San Francisco, sang in a rock band in the 60s. So, I mean, really, there were downs, right? But life was good. Life was up. My family had its issues. My father was very, very angry, and my mother was not outspoken. And I'm the first of 3 children. So I've had my issues too. And the story I want to share with you, I have many, but probably this is the biggest one that if you're ever in this situation, anybody who's in this situation, you don't have to give up. So I met and married my husband in San Francisco in 1972. We moved to North Carolina where his family was and began to raise a family, which we did. And everything seemed to be just perfect. 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. It was phenomenal. 2 beautiful children, animals, yards, very little downtime. And at 30 years, my marriage literally imploded. I am going along, choosing my life the way it is and the way it isn't, which I learned in Landmark, right? If you choose it the way it is and the way it isn't, then your mind is open to be another way. Resistance causes persistence. So choose it, the tough stuff as well as the good stuff. Then you're free to think. I'm an agile thinker, and then my work is a master in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. I teach women and men how to apply those old principles and universal law and all that, and I practice it all. But at 30 years, I was looking forward to retirement. We had about $750,000 in the bank with 401ks, and I was going to ease through the rest of my life. But my husband, who had gotten a golden parachute, discovered laptops and pornography. And so while I was out working for startup companies, and it's been a number of years, so there's no anger, the forgiveness is all there. Like, it took a long time. But the story is important because of where it led me to, or where it led me. I fought against that. I was not okay with a 30-year marriage breaking up. And I'm sure if you've ever been in a long-term relationship, you know, they always say, well, you know, get help. Well, it's great if both of you want help. But what do? He actually got so far down the road that he loved it. I mean, literally fell in love with sexual addiction. And I did everything I knew. I even went undercover on the porn sites to find out what he was doing. I took the low road. As little Egypt crawls on her belly like a reptile, people were saying, you know, take the high road, Leslie. It wasn't possible. I mean, I was like the mother cub, and I was not letting this 30-year marriage and all the beauty and our children. We were the only married couple, right? When my kids went to school, everybody was single or divorced. So I was devastated and sat in the dark for 2 years. I worked, but I come home and cry, right? And I had so much hate and anger, and my vibration was so low. I went back and did Landmark again. I did it in 96. And one day I woke up and I said, this is shit. And so I went and did the whole program again, which was perfect for me, right? Because I needed transformation. So I'm living in an apartment. Things are still pretty miserable for me. And I walk out to the mailbox, and there's a letter in the mailbox from the IRS. And it says, "Dear Mrs. Flowers, here is your coupon book. You owe us $80,000. Your payments are $5,000 a month. Please remit." Well, I'm a secretary making $2,500 a month. So I was in shock, and I had 3 choices. One, take me to jail because there's no way I can pay this. That was my first option, right? Because there was no way that I could do this. By the way, things turned out okay, but here's why. The second thing was I pictured myself driving off a bridge. My marriage was gone. I had raised my family. Everything I had built over 30 years disappeared. And by the way, I walked away with $4,000 because he had spent it all on all that stuff, if you will. And the third one was to become homeless, because in Raleigh, there's a big homeless population. So I thought, well, I could live on the streets. I mean, those were not pretty choices for me. It was all depressing. What am I going to do? 80,000 to the government? I didn't even know what it was about. But we weren't divorced yet. And what I didn't know is that he was spending all this money and pulling it out of 401ks. And when he filed bankruptcy, the IRS came after me. So with those 3 choices, I got this idea. I actually had $500 in an Edward Jones account. It wasn't the $500, it was the guy at Edward Jones. He was my financial advisor, right? So I went and saw him. "Oh, Leslie, here's what you need to do. You need a CPA who is a tax attorney. Okay. And I thought, well, who knew there was such a thing? He said, and I know someone. So what I learned later was that this is seeking specialized knowledge, which is, I was led to begin teaching the principles of success and how the universe works. And one of the principles is seeking specialized knowledge. So I believe that we have access to all of this. Even if we haven't learned it properly, we have access to it. So I went and saw this guy, old guy, really nice. And he looked at me and he said, you know, there's an innocent spouse law. I said, what? He said, we could actually go against the IRS on this. Would you like to do that? I said, yes. Well, it was $5,000, and a year later that it came back and they relieved me of the $80,000. But it meant that my ex had to agree to take it on, which he did. So he was suffering all sorts of guilt during all of this. And it took 20 years to forgive. So I came into this guy's office and he said, this is really good, right? You're going to pay 30, your ex is going to pay 50, right? Or they relieved, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. It's been a few years. They relieved 50 of the 80, but I was still going to have to pay 30. And I didn't want to do that. So he said, do you want to appeal? I said, yes. 6 months later and $1,600. So a total of $6,600. All of it was removed, all 80,000. This was pretty significant going against the IRS, but it was about my ex agreeing to take it on. Then about 6 months later, I'm happily doing my thing, getting better all the time. And I get another letter in the mail, and this is from the State Department of Revenue. Dear Mrs. Flowers, you owe us $20,000. So I called them up and I said, look, this was what the IRS did, and they relieved the whole thing. 2 years later, I bought my first home on my own, a dream home on a lake. All of my credit had been restored. So the lesson here was that those three choices were not my only choices. The universe handed me an idea, which was creative imagination, and I took action on it. It took 20 years for me to forgive him. And he ended up marrying the woman he was cheating on me with. And I hated her. But the year before she died, I had him and her to my home for the first Christmas in 20 years, where all the kids and grandkids were there. So never give up. And now he is unwell and I help him, right? But it took a long time. What I would say to you, there's nothing ever too hard that you can't count on the universe to give you the answer if you're listening. And I guess that's where I would end this particular story. So thank you for your hearts. I've done this I've told this story before. It's in one of my books, but for me, it's the one story where I had no choice. It was go to jail, kill yourself, seriously. I mean, I visualize it, or live on the streets. And that was not who I was. I mean, I took troops into Vietnam, right? I mean, I sang in a rock band in the 60s. Life was large. I've written all these books. But this one thing really brought me to my knees because I was so proud of the family that we built. And I still am proud, right, of that now. So that's my offering to you today. I hope you found something good in it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Leslie. What
Sure.
an incredible story, lesson. I have a question for you because it really resonated with me. You're absolutely right. I mean, we have the choices in front of us, but then if we truly take the time to listen, there are other options. So what helped you be able to listen beyond what was in front of you?
Nothing. It was a gift. Very often my ideas, and I've executed on a number of them, the source is the universe. When I write, it's not me. And I do want to answer your question. What helped me is I was at my wit's end, and I must have been praying and asking, what else is there? Do I really have to kill myself? I mean, I was willing. Those are my choices. Which of the three would you do? Because I didn't have the money for that. Who has $5,000 a month when you're making $2,500? The only way I would have known was to get into the business my husband was interested in, and then I could have covered that. Right? I can laugh now. But if you ask, very often I'll tell my clients, and I do this myself, if I have an obstacle that seems insurmountable, I know that when I go to sleep, my subconscious and all those crazy beliefs, that anger and hatred is also asleep. And it's the only time that God or the universe can slip in past all those crazy beliefs and give me the answer I need and that I want to get past this thing. So really, it was probably, Andrea, being at my wit's end, not happy with, I didn't deserve it. I had done a really good job, right, raising this family, and I loved him for what he was and what he wasn't, right? There was a whole lot that he wasn't, but he was 25 years was, right? He was a good dad, and he was a good provider and a good husband, and things weren't perfect. You know, I discovered when we separated that there are a lot of long-term marriages like mine where this has happened. And I'm sure you know about this. Now, some women will turn the other way, but I had 2 grown children, and I did not want them to think that what happened was okay. You know, and so I took a big risk, and I walked away from 30 years with $4,000. But life, you know, I did what Sushma did, right? I kept putting one foot in front of the other. And Andrea, the ideas came to me. Here's your idea, right? You have $500 in your Edward Jones account. That means you have a financial advisor. Go ask. And that's really what happened. Does that satisfy you?
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I know, Bill, I saw your hand first.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Leslie, incredible story. One of the themes, and you know, going back to our history with my son, we can try to do it, and I talk about influencing the future, but we can't control it.
Right.
And you know, I can tell you, going back, I remember fearing bankruptcy through some of his care, and everything's worked out, everything's fine. But one thing we learned in spades, and why kindness is so important to me, is people need people. I'm a CPA. I couldn't, you know, not a tax attorney, but I know how hairy, complicated those things can be.
They are.
And working with the IRS can be absolutely the worst nightmare of anybody trying to, I can feel you feeling the fear of everything. But people need people, and you had that conversation, and you had somebody who could help through the maze, and that's precious. And our family hangs on that theme. And, you know, on the other side here, today, we are forever trying to help one person one family at a time, because we all need each other. And it's just, so God bless. I'm glad everything worked out.
Beautifully said. I really believe, and I've got proof. There are years in this work. I can tell you, keep looking up, people, because what you want, by choice or by default, is moving toward you at the same amplitude of vibration you're moving toward it. So when good stuff shows up, it's because you did good stuff. When kindness comes to you, it's because you gave kindness. When someone is ugly with you, think about, were you short-tempered with them? Did you trigger them? Right? I was having this very discussion with my brother, who was telling me about an angry thing that happened in a store. And I said, with a person working there and another woman. And evidently the person working in the store just really lit into the customer. And I said to him, I'd be willing to bet that she was a match for that negative energy. That person didn't just jump out into the customer's face. The customer was being difficult, right? And so actually attracted the same low vibration. So yeah, thank you. That was fabulous, Phil. Thank you.
Goodness. Wow. Wow. So much nuggets of wisdom, Leslie. And thank you, Bill. I saw Sonia next.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm hearing these stories of forgiveness today. My question is for both Leslie and for Angel. For the people who hurt you, how much space had been between you, or how much time passed before you were able to forgive them?
20 years. Well, no, I'll say 15. Okay, 15 years. I was married 30. The breakup happened right around 2001 or 2002. And it was about 4 years ago that I finally was able to invite him and his wife into my home with my children, and surprise the children because they're grown up. They haven't seen me with their father for 20 years. The grandkids never saw us together. The thing that I looked forward to was, it's the stories that die when a marriage dies. It's not about the money. It's who you're going to tell the war stories to. So I often tell my grandchildren, tell us the story again about this. Tell us the story about daddy when he did this and when mommy did this. That's what I lost. That's what we lose when a long-term marriage breaks up. It isn't the money. So it took 15 solid years of working on myself to finally let it go. Angel, how about you?
Oh, I was 21 when I decided this was my aunt made her last nasty comment to me. And it took about 35 years. 30 years. But what it took was me realizing I had to love me more, that I deserve more. So I thought I was doing something, holding on to hate and hating her. But what I did releasing that hate is I freed myself. And that's what I want to share with everyone.
That's awesome. And let me just tell you that my ex-husband, for all that he was and that he wasn't, he has long since passed what he owed me. And to this day, I am semi-retired and he still sends me $2,000 a month. He doesn't have to. I don't know why he does it, but because he does that, it allows me to work half time. So it really came full circle. So all that money, right, that we had saved together disappeared. He's given it all back to me. So don't give up.
I thank you both for your answers. I was just asking because it's something I'm still working through, and I know that I need to release things for myself. But the reason I asked about the space issue is just if you're still interacting because you have to, not necessarily spending time, but just interacting with them, you still see them. And I think a person can heal faster when it's more out of sight, out of mind, limited interaction. So what you both said is very helpful. So thank you both.
You're so very welcome.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you both. Melody, was your hand up?
It was, I was going to say, when it comes to when you get those ideas and visions of what could be, dream big, because you never know what's meant to be. And that includes any kind of connections you make with two people, getting them to be able to put those two people together. You never know what's meant to be. So as long as you're open to it, as long as you're in gratitude and you're open to the universe and God helping you, and you'll find that your ability to connect two people is their fate, that you are able to help so many others by just introducing two people to each other. And that's what you do every month on this. So thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Thank you.
Zach, did you have a question or something you wanted to share?
Yes, Zach did.
But I thought this might be to Sonia's question, Sonia, I so respect that question. I don't think there's an answer to time, but hearing people's stories like Angel's and Leslie's certainly do help. In his group, I don't really publicly talk about this much, but I'm Greek, and I've got high family values, yet I've had a toxic relationship with a brother who's 16 months older than me. I think at the point when in the 10th grade, I started growing taller than him. So he didn't like that too much, but we had a relationship for many, many years. And the reason I stayed in it is because I promised my father when he passed away 11 years ago, actually 2 days ago, 11 years ago, I promised my father we'll take care of my mother. And I need him because he's local, I'm long distance. And to your point, Sonia, out of sight, out of mind does help, but I needed to work with him so we could help out with Mom. But he got so toxic. You really helped me think through some stuff today. I kept trying to change him, and that's what made it worse. It started spiraling and got worse and worse to the point where I started getting sick, and it was really impacted me. And I'm probably one of the most positive guys you'll ever meet, and I was getting negative. And Leslie, I love what you said. You had three choices, right? Jump the bridge or go homeless. I thought that I only had one choice. I must work with him so we can take care of my mom. But you know what? I figured it out. I figured a way around it. And I didn't need to have this relationship, as sad as that is. I'm 60. I've endured this all my life. And I finally broke away the last 8-9 months, just recently. And it's a very professional relationship with him, very limited. And I have found other resources to take care of my mother. You how much how much relief I have. It is well that I feel this way now, and I probably should have tried that years ago because of what I've gone through. And so
that's a boundary. You set a boundary. And the boundary was not being with him. I've got a brother that's like that. And every 9 or 10 months, he gets back into his negative, nasty self. And I say to him, Michael, if you want to have any connection with me, you cannot yell at me. You cannot swear at me. You cannot raise your voice, and you cannot talk negatively about anybody in my presence. And we've gone as much as a year not talking until he's ready, right, to try again. And every couple of years we do it again. Right now we're in the okay phase, but that's what you did. So honestly, to Sonia's point, from what you said, I still saw my ex-husband. Now I saw him intermittently. And what I noticed that as I was becoming more aware and more developed and did the work, if you will, he wasn't doing any work. And so as time went on, I noticed that I had this higher level of awareness, and he was still down here in this negative, same old mindset. And you're right, Zach, you can't change them, right? So I don't know the answer, just like you with Sonia, I don't know the answer. Maybe it's just persistence, right? Maybe
Leslie, I will tell you, as I was hearing you say that, you said to your brother, you. Well, that's actually what I changed. I quit saying you. I can't change him. Just kind of like what Angel was saying about the 86-year-old woman. I finally got it figured in my head, and my wife, who sees a therapist, taught us about boundaries. You're absolutely right. I finally put a boundary down. I said, hey, this is I now. This,
Right.
I can't do anything. You can't say you, because there's no managing that.
Okay.
He had me at ransom because he knew I needed him to take care of mom, but I found a way around it.
To be clear, I told him I am X amount of years old and nobody talks to me that way, basically. So that's kind of where I left it. To your point, I wasn't really clear. It's like I wasn't putting up with this anymore. Therefore, you can't have a relationship with me while this occurs. And he actually had to modify his behavior if he wanted to spend time with me. And he's actually working on that. So excellent point. Bill.
Oh my gosh, you guys, we could go for hours. Holy cow. Am I so glad I got on here, Andrea? Whoa. A conversation that we have in our house often, and my wife will say to me, but that's your family. I said, well, you can't pick your family, but you can, we all only have 24 hours a day, and you can pick where you put your energy. Doesn't mean you don't talk to people, but I've got 8 siblings, and there's 4 that I keep. We all love each other. I mean, there is no question. The family, we care about each other. But some of the vibe from some of the siblings, I got 6 sisters, is not good. And they'll make comments, hey, he can take his kindness and go, where with it, okay? And tell my wife, not my problem. Okay, there's a community out there, there's a world out there that needs this. Just because they're my family doesn't mean I sit and tolerate this behavior. Right. Now, I don't go direct at them. I just go silent, because we're not changing others, as you and Zach said. I'm totally on that. I'm just going to continue to put positive into the world. Strangers, friends, family. Okay. And if it doesn't work for you, as Seth Godin says, well, it's not for you then. That's right. Fine. So thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you, everybody. Wow. Thank you so much. Wonderful conversations and comments. So powerful. We have one more amazing story and speaker. Rolandas. Thank you for being here. Rolandas is calling from Lithuania. Oh my goodness. And we have Sushma from India. So this is truly, truly global. So Rolandas, let us know a little bit about you and then share your story.
Hey, so Lithuania, it's in Europe. I have a story of how to lose friends and wait at the same time. You can do both. I work in sales, in transportation and logistics company for many years now. You know, when you cold email, you get all kinds of rejections. So now with weight loss, I weighed at almost 380 pounds. Yeah. I go down to, as of now, 80. 160, 80 kilos. So that's in 3 years. Yeah. To do that, I changed. When I started training, I had to switch jobs to get some more of free time to eat healthy, sleep more, all that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing now, so it's a gradual process. So losing weight, it's like kind of proportionate to losing friends, I say. Because I got to that point when I started thinking that, you know, others don't like seeing others to succeed in weight loss. I started running, got knee problems, so I started swimming, cycling, triathlons. My first one was Ironman. I got to the point when I did the world championship of double Ironman. So it's double the, full Ironman distance. I think I lost every friend that I knew till then. Some of them got back like in recent year. But it's okay because, you know, I stopped drinking, I stopped eating out, I concentrated on work, fitness, healthy eating, rest. But I didn't expect this from parents. I mean, my dad was always a runner, not much, 5-10 kilos every day. So in miles, what's 3 miles every day, cold showers, you know, healthy guy. When we saw that I'm losing weight, getting good at running, at cycling especially, I hate swimming, oh my God. So we just, and with Dad, we worked for a year. When I started, we were still working at my parents' company I work. So we met every day, we talked on the phone, Monday to Friday, weekends, you know, work and just everything. Calls became like 1-2 call a day when it was like maybe 20 calls a day, because, you know, for any reason. And when I left, I haven't seen my both parents in we live like 10-minute drive. I haven't seen them for maybe 2 or 3 months. They saw me when I was around 40 or 50 pounds down. I was completely different person. I had a good beard, like, oh, yeah, really good one. And my parents, like, you know, it changed completely. And like we started acting like, why are you doing this? I mean, do you have cancer? What's wrong with you? We are not, you know, heavy overweight. Like, we have some weight, but it's okay. And it just started acting crazy, you know. Maybe you should stop doing it. It's not healthy. You weighted like double what you're weighing now, you know. It's what are you doing? I just, you know, I listened to them, ignored them, continued to do what I was doing. So I did those Ironmans. I did the Olympic triathlons. I mean, I was good. First, second, third places always. Ironmans, not that good, but at full Ironman, I completed this swimming part, like almost last one. But on bike, I would finish by time only like second, third, fourth. On running again, I was not my thing. Cycling is my thing. So the point is that, you know, like parents backed away a little bit, like we still would talk, visit, but like, and we are people who I mean, my dad, he's daily runner, and I didn't understand what is happening. I mean, with friends it's okay, but with family it's even my sister is like a neurologist. I mean, she knows medical stuff. She knows my eating habits before. I could eat like 3 full chickens on one day, and now I'm eating like rice, only healthy food. I adopted this. You might not like this carbohydrate diet, because I would use like my weekly training was 25 hours, mostly cycling. I consumed around 6,000-7,000 calories per day. I burned off like around 4,000 each day. That's what you need for double Ironman. You need that kind of training. So it was crazy. Maybe 2 years later, relationship with parents, like it friends, with training, I got new friends, everything is fine. Parents, we came back, son, we cannot run for me. I left 10-minute drive. But it was very strange because, you don't expect that from parents. I stopped. I wasn't like casual drinker. I would drink maybe once a month before my fitness, everything. I'm like good kid. I didn't do any crazy stuff. So that was unexpected. We came back asking for advice. I mean, at first I tried a little bit, saying like, maybe you should try eating a little bit healthier, you should try that. Time passes, I just, kept the relationship, just tried not to get things worse. We came back asking for, how could I improve my 5K runs, a little bit by just step by step. We made our relationship work again. Now everything is fine. They are coming back to me and asking like, how should I eat that? All kinds of questions. So it's crazy how I mean, everything was kind of okay when I was living that not that healthy, and when I started losing weight, I got into fitness, everything like completely changes everything with people you don't expect to change. So it was a hell of a journey. One thing is that I completely changed my diet, and I tried to give advices. You should eat that, you shouldn't eat that, but it doesn't work. With those things, people need to come ask you. If you come asking, you can give advices, they will listen, and they will do it or won't do it. It doesn't matter, but they will listen to you. So now, if someone wants, I can talk for like not hours. I can talk days about fitness, running, cycling, swimming, you name it. But otherwise, it's going and just pushing your advices. It's not good. So yeah, basically that's it. Not when I heard your stories, mine is like, yeah.
Thank you, Rolandas. Is this the first time you shared your story?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That's
Like
a
that,
huge
yeah,
honor.
because I kept away the parent part most of the time.
Thank you so much. That's wow, that was quite intense. And it's so commendable that you kept going with what you thought was good for you and healthy for you. But you're absolutely right. You're not ever going to please everybody. And when you find things that you are meant to do, there's going to be people that don't recognize you anymore. And that's when you have to keep believing that what you're doing is the right path. It's for you to continue to be you yourself to this world. Thank you for that. I want to open it up to any questions. David?
Yeah, I mean, not a question, more a comment. A lot of
Comment.
things came up for me there. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think a couple of things. I mean, the first thing that came up for me is, again, it's around the people pleasing piece. People want you to stay in where you're at. I liken it to this analogy around shadows. You know, when the sun's out, you can see a shadow. When it's dark, you can't. And that's what it's about. It's about that, and it's about your anchors and your sails. There are people who genuinely want to see you in a position so they can, and not have you better yourself, because it makes them feel good. Oh, well, they're like this. Oh, that's good. Why are you making these changes? Because, it allows these people to have power and control over people. And it's good, like you said, that when you make changes, there are people who are not going to move into the next season with you. And that's what's really important. You went and made those weight loss changes, and then all of a sudden people are like, well, why are you doing this? That's because that's their fixed mindset, and it's not about the weight loss in general. It's just about, people have fixed mindsets. I have gone through that myself with people where I've tried to better myself and do different things, and people are like, well, why are you doing that? Why are you sitting in these forms? Why are you doing this? Why don't you just sit in this one position, because it makes us feel good about ourselves that we can anchor you down. And that's my call to action, I suppose, for everybody. Unshackle yourself. Magical things will happen when you do so.
Wow, David, that was powerful. Unshackle yourself. Yes, and I love your comment about when the sun is out, you can see shadows. When it's dark, you can't. Oh my gosh, that really touched me. Thank you, David. Bill?
Rolandas, that's incredible, incredible story. And David hit it right on the head. Often when you follow your heart and do what you think is right, some people in your orbit are going to feel threatened. Like, who does he think he is? And you got to stay true. I've got a little funny I'm going to share with you, because my daughter recently completed a half Ironman, which I was there to see it, and I said, this is insanity. Okay. And I know people that have done Ironman. So back in the day, many days ago, years, I was a marathoner, and I always thought that was completely nuts. You just destroy your body, and that's just running. Okay. And I had a guy at the expo come up to me. We were talking, my daughter was there, and he says, oh, you used to run marathons? I gotta show this shirt to you. Okay. And he takes off his sweat top, and he's a triathlete, and it says, so you ran a marathon. Isn't that cute? Okay. And I go, oh, I think it's funny. That's not that, but kudos to you. That's crazy, what you did. And I mean, that incredible dedication in your weight loss story. I mean, dedication pays off, just discipline. Awesome. Great to see. So congrats.
Thank you.
Many congrats, Rolandas. And anyone else? Zach?
Because apparently Rolandas and I are the only ones that read the memo that you're supposed to wear green shirts today. So I had to say something, but Rolandas, just like Bill said, I mean, kudos to you for your achievement. You're a rock star to go out and do a healthier choice in life. It is what you're dealing with, and it's kind of ironic. The irony here of calling you a rock star is what you're experiencing is the opposite of what a rock star experiences. Usually it's the rock star who gets stuffed in their head. They start acting differently. And the people around them are like, what happened to Rolandas, you know? I want to just share with you, just for something to think about, is you know, and I'm sure you've done this, and I'm from New Jersey, so I apologize, but doing some self-reflection, you know, because as we change physically, we also do change in other ways. And maybe sit down with somebody that you really love and trust and respect and ask them, you know, have I changed in ways maybe to maybe have other people treat me differently? No, right? But at least it's a validation. Or on the other hand, you might pick up some information that you know might be of value if you treasure these relationships enough to make them work. But also, as far as the haters and all those other folks, hell with them. I mean, I want a healthy Rolandas around me. You know, that's going to be around for a long time and have my back. That's what I would be more interested in. So, but thanks for sharing your story, buddy. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you. We time for one more. Leslie.
So I wanted to defend the people, Rolandas, that gave you a hard time in your family, because here's the thing. It's not that they don't want you to succeed. They're afraid you'll leave them, right? And actually, as a Jewish woman, I'm going to quote the New Testament, which is in Luke. It says you'll never be a prophet in your own home. So really what's going on at home is they're afraid you're going to be successful and leave them. It's not about you're not being successful. That's what I would offer you, so that you could better understand their fear. In fact, I will tell you this one quick story. When I decided to open a chocolate company in the mountains of North Carolina, and I was at dinner with my family, and my daughter said, "Mama, what do you know about opening a chocolate factory? You don't know anything about chocolate or running a business." And I got quiet, because what she did was take the wind out of my sails. But later she called me and she said, "Mama, I felt like you were drawing on the Etch-a-Sketch. Remember the Etch-a-Sketch that you could turn the knobs and create?" And I shook it. "I apologize, Mama. Go open your chocolate company." So yeah, it's like having kids that are transformed is helpful. So just know that they love you. They didn't know what they were doing when they weren't supporting you. They were simply afraid that they wouldn't have their darling Rolandas the way they knew him anymore.
Thank you.
That is so powerful, Leslie. So powerful. Wow. Thank you so much. Another amazing rally, number 29. Sushma, do you have something you would like to end with?
A small question to what Leslie said, because this is something I have witnessed all my life, everywhere, and it's there even now. When you have someone who is having that feeling, and that if that someone is very near and dear, maybe a sibling or maybe a caretaker or so, I have dealt with this thing in my own ways, but I think I never did a very good job. When someone becomes insecure and you really want to have both what you're doing, where you want to go, and that person, how would you take them along? How
You have to get them. Well, they're in a place, and forgive me for jumping in here, but what they need to be is heard. They don't know that you hear them. So you can ask them, well, why is this concerning to you? What is it that troubles you? Well, Sushma, you're going to go off and you're going to be this fantastic, right? Or the same thing with Rolandas. Get them to tell you what their concern is, and then repeat it back to them. oh, so the reason that you responded that way was because of X. Yes, yes. And as soon as and you may not get it right away. No, that's not really what I meant. I really meant this. And then you repeat that back to them. And I'm seeing head shaking, so I know that I'm on the right path. Then they want you to hear them. They're on a very low level of awareness in a very small world, and they don't think anybody hears them.
Right.
So this is how you do this as a coach, right? Is that you begin to make them know that you understand them, and you do this in sales also. but that's the best way to deal with people that are difficult, and you want to bring them along. Let them talk to you and repeat back what you're hearing, so they go, wow, she really gets me, even though she's changing. I like her. Right. So I hope that's helpful.
It is, absolutely.
Good.
Wow.